All right, let's just jump right into this explainer. Have you ever wondered if this sci-fi dystopia we've all been dreading for decades is actually just the reality we're living in right now? For years, we pictured this dark future dominated by rogue machines and killer robots. But what if the future didn't arrive with a dramatic machine uprising at all? What if, instead, it quietly slipped in through the terms of service on our smartphones? Today, we're unpacking the architecture of our modern digital existence, and honestly, it is a fascinating, wild ride. To truly wrap our heads around this current landscape, we have to talk about surveillance capitalism. Now, we aren't just dealing with Big Brother looking over our shoulder anymore. As Shoshana Zuboff points out perfectly right here, we are dealing with a big other. Every single thing we do, our clicks, our daily habits, literally our physical movements, is being harvested as raw material. This data is scooped up, processed, and then used to modify and predict what we're going to do next. It's this entirely new economy where human experience itself is the primary resource being mined for profit. Crazy, right?
System Override 01, the AI punk reality.
So what exactly is an AI punk world? Well, it's a reality where the algorithm completely dictates our social and existential lives. Traditional cyberpunk was all about high-tech chrome and gritty, neon-lit streets. But AI punk? It's about intelligence itself becoming the infrastructure. Code is basically the invisible ruler of the city now. Social structures are just emergent properties of these massive learning models. And everyday decisions are constantly being made based on what the model thinks is the optimal outcome, like maximum efficiency or profitability. And the real kicker, what we often call the black box problem, is that these decisions are being handed down without humans actually understanding the underlying reasoning.
System Override 2.0. Orwell meets Aldous Huxley.
What's really wild is that our contemporary global governance is essentially a mashup of two classic dystopian nightmares. On one hand, you have George Orwell's 1984, a centralized state holding on to power through physical terror and absolute coercive surveillance. But then, on the other hand, you have Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, a society completely controlled by compliance, where citizens are kept passive through instant gratification and endless consumerism. The source material suggests that today, we are actually living in a highly sophisticated merger of both. It's a behavioral control framework that uses observation and seduction at the exact same time.
In most classic dystopian stories, there's always a green world, a place of nature or authentic reality where the rebels can run off to escape the system. But in our modern hyper-reality, that kind of physical escape is virtually impossible. Pervasive tracking systems and biometric networks have basically enclosed us in this continuous, endlessly monitored space. And the biggest plot twist? We are willingly trading our autonomy for consumer convenience. We're essentially funding our own domination through corporate terms of service rather than actual democratic laws. Private capital exercises this incredibly subtle power over us, constantly nudging our behaviors to optimize their own systems.
System Override 03, the new intelligence divide.
77%. That is a staggering number of devices currently in use that features some form of AI. We're not just talking about one giant supercomputer locked away in a secret basement somewhere. This is a pervasive, everyday sentience woven right into the fabric of our reality. It's in the traffic lights we drive through, the financial transactions we make, and the digital assistants sitting on our kitchen counters.
Now look at these numbers, because they highlight a massive demographic fracture happening right under our noses. While 53% of folks with postgraduate degrees are highly aware of AI in their daily lives, that number absolutely plummets to just 14% for those with a high school education or less. This data points to a deeply unequal landscape. The early adopters are pulling so far ahead, leaving a massive portion of the population completely on the sidelines.
This creates what we call the intelligence divide. The battleground for your digital autonomy is now drawn clearly between those who understand and control the algorithms and those who are simply being processed by them. The optimized class gains access to higher tiers of productivity, while the unmodeled, the baseline humans, are left to be harvested for behavioral data. Long story short, if you want to avoid becoming the raw material of this entire system, you absolutely have to understand the tools running it.
System Override 04, the Cloud AI machine.
Okay, so enterprise budgets are currently shifting toward generative AI in a massive way. But how that AI is deployed, that matters immensely. Cloud AI gives you incredible, instantaneous reasoning power by tapping into centralized hyperscale data centers. But it comes with some heavy trade-offs. You literally have to send your private, sensitive data over the internet to third-party monopolies. That exposes you to compliance risks, annoying network latency delays, and endless pay-per-request API costs. Local AI, however, runs directly on your own hardware, which grants you absolute 100% data sovereignty.
It really boils down to the economic and privacy trade-offs shown here. The cloud gives you zero upfront capital costs, sure, because the provider manages all the heavy hardware, but you are explicitly sacrificing your privacy to get it. Localized hosting demands an initial investment. You have to actually go out and buy specialized GPUs, but it gives you complete digital sovereignty in return. Your data never leaves your own perimeter, and you aren't paying a toll every single time you ask the model a question.
System override, 05, the local AI resistance.
So, the big question, how do we actually push back against the big other and reclaim our data? The answer is local AI. This right here is where the punk in AI punk actually comes in. It is the street-level rebellion against that massive corporate architecture we were just talking about. By using tools like Ollama and LM Studio, you can run powerful open-weight models on hardware that you exclusively control. That means you can operate completely offline in air-gapped environments. You protect your most sensitive data from third-party snooping, and because you aren't bouncing requests off a server across the country, you get near-zero network latency. It's literally about taking the power of the algorithm and putting it right back into the hands of the individual.
And just look at the performance difference. While cloud latency can be this massive bottleneck for high-volume tasks, local models totally outpace the cloud by removing the network trip completely. In this specific automated coding test, the local approach took an incredibly fast 1.5 seconds per test, while the cloud-based equivalent lagged behind at 20 to 40 seconds. When you're dealing with AI agents making thousands of sequential calls, that speed difference isn't just nice to have, it's an absolute game changer.
System override, 06, reclaiming our digital autonomy.
So, how do we thrive in this modern world without just totally disconnecting and moving to the woods? You need a hybrid architecture. It is the ultimate survival toolkit, and it's exactly how savvy developers are balancing raw capability with strict control right now. Step 1. You deploy local models as your protective shield. They handle your memory, sensitive data, and routine tasks. Step 2. You selectively tap into those massive frontier cloud models, but only when complex reasoning power is strictly required. And step 3, you tie the whole shebang together with a shared orchestration layer that routes the work intelligently. You get the frontier capabilities of the cloud, but you never surrender the sovereignty of your local ecosystem. As we wrap up this explainer, and you navigate this highly optimized AI punk future, I really want to leave you with a profound question. The architecture of algorithmic assent is already built all around us. It is entirely up to us whether we remain the unmodeled raw material fueling surveillance capitalism, or if we adopt the tools, hybridize our approach, and reclaim our autonomy. So ask yourself, are your choices truly your own? Really think about that the next time a personalized recommendation perfectly predicts your very next move. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer. And remember, keep questioning the code that runs your world.